Guilty or not, that is the question 12 men and women will debate behind closed doors. The defendant, Derek Chauvin, was fired from the Minneapolis Police Department last year after Floyd died in his custody. Video of the incident shows Chauvin holding Floyd face down with his knee for more than 9 minutes. Resulting protests against police brutality and racial injustice were some of the most intense and widespread in the United States in a generation. Prosecutors claim Floyd's death was clearly homicide, and several expert witnesses backed that up, saying Floyd was asphyxiated by Chauvin. Chauvin's lawyer said drugs, heart issues, and other factors led to Floyd's death.
So there are multiple entities all acting together and adding to each other and taking away from a different part of the ability to get oxygen into his heart.
George Floyd's death rekindled a debate about police tactics across the U.S. that rights activists say disproportionately impact black, minority, and poor communities. A guilty verdict would be a rare instance of a police officer facing legal consequences for actions leading to unnecessary death or injury.
I honestly believe that a conviction in the Chauvin trial for the killing of George Floyd could set a precedence in America where we will find police officers being held accountable and sent to prison for killing black people in America.
I can't breathe.
In resting its case, however, the prosecution tried to persuade the jury that this was not about condemning all police, but holding Chauvin responsible for his actions.
And only you have the power to convict the defendant of these crimes, and in so doing declare that this use of force was unreasonable. It was excessive. It was grossly disproportionate. It is not an excuse for the shocking abuse that you saw with your own eyes, and you can believe your own eyes.
As the defense rested its case, Chauvin, who had declined to testify, removed the medical mask that had been hiding his face throughout most of the trial.
Officer Chauvin had no intent to purposefully use, or he did not purposefully use unlawful force. These are officers doing their job in a highly stressful situation.
Protesters are awaiting the verdict in Minneapolis, where over 3,000 National Guard have been sent in anticipation of unrest.
All right, for more now, we want to go to DW's Stefan Simons. He is standing by for us at the courthouse in Minneapolis. He's been on this story since the beginning. Stefan, good evening to you. The attorneys, they made their closing arguments today. What were the main thrusts of both arguments?
Yeah, they're actually still at it. The defense team is still not finished. And as soon as they finish, the defense attorney finishes, the state has actually the opportunity for a brief rebuttal before the jurors will send in to deliberations. But let me fill you in briefly what's happening here. So right behind me, as you see, I'm stepping out of the picture. Local, state, national, and international press here galore. For what? For Reverend Al Sharpton, representatives of the Floyd family, and the lawyer of the Floyd family. They will be coming out here speaking when the court and the jurors and the prosecution and the defense team will go for a lunch break. This will also happen now. The thrust of all of this is, as alert in the piece, the prosecution wants to make sure every juror understands that they think Derek Chauvin did something which was against protocol, against police policies, and of course intentional and in disregard to his better knowledge or even training. He is responsible for the death of George Floyd. That's the prosecution's point. And very clear, the defense saying not at all. He is a reasonable officer. The defense made this over and over again, a reasonable officer, because reasonable officer and reasonable doubt are very, very close. And it takes just one juror to make this a very bad experience here, possibly. One juror who doesn't agree with anything, and there may be a chance for even a mistrial. That's not going to end well then, if that happens.
Do we have any idea, Stefan, of when we could get a verdict?
Well, this could go really, really quickly, day or two. Again, the jurors will be sequestered today, and then it could be tomorrow or the day after, Wednesday, maybe Thursday. That would probably be from the perspective of the prosecution be a good thing, because that indicates that there is no problem in the pool of jurors to decide what is the deal here, on what count is Derek Chauvin guilty or not. Now, if this drags out and it's longer, that's an indication that there is trouble in the juror pool, that there is one or maybe two or more who disagree with the others on any of those charges, right?
That's right.
So there is really no way of telling how long this takes.
And the fact that there are so many people from the press, international press, behind you speaks to the fact of how closely this trial is being watched, and also to the fact that where you are is like a powder keg. Talk to me about the concerns about an acquittal sparking outrage and violence in the U.S.
Oh, Brett, this city here is absolutely on edge. You can grab this. This whole state is on edge. The lieutenant governor of the state came out yesterday and said black people are not safe in Minnesota. That's a strong statement. But, I mean, this is, where it's at right the moment here in the state. Now, you can make the point, and I think it's fair to say that the entire country, and maybe even parts of the world, are really fixated on this trial because it's historic. Because what we witnessed here was that the blue wall, the so-called blue wall, cracked, crumbled. Other police officers and superiors of Chauvin telling the jury what he did was wrong and he's responsible for the death of Derek Chauvin. So all eyes are on this city, all eyes are on this trial, and everybody hopes that this will have an outcome which doesn't trigger violence. Are they prepared for this? Yes, National Guard, police, state troopers, and so on. Not just here, everywhere in the United States, LA, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and so on.
All right, DW's Stefan Simons there in the thick of it all in Minneapolis. Stefan, thank you.